Welcome back to the UK Crypto Podcast. I'm Paula, and as always, I'm joined by Matty. For years, crypto investors have claimed Bitcoin was built for moments where trust in governments and financial systems starts to break down. But what happens if the world enters a real global crisis? Does crypto become the safest asset in the world, or does it completely collapse alongside everything else? This episode is not about fear-mongering, not about predicting war. This is a hypothetical discussion about money, freedom, and technology during instability. It's traditional finance versus decentralized finance during a crisis. Is crypto fully designed for unstable times, or have we all romanticized it too much? Right, let's get into it.
Today's episode is sponsored by the Crypto Wolfpack, and we have celebrated our first year's birthday. It's been an incredible year with over 2,500 people going through the Crypto Wolfpack products. We've got courses, we've got TradingView indicators, and most importantly, we've got community. Year one was exciting, and we can't wait to see what happens inside year two. If you want to get involved, we've also got a special promo code to celebrate the first year's birthday. And if you use the promo code Happy Birthday at checkout, you get 50% off your first month's subscription. So head over to cryptowolfpack.co.uk or click the link in the description. We'll see you inside the Wolfpack.
Because when people talk about Bitcoin being digital gold, the real question is, does it survive instability in a global crisis?
So there's some pluses and minuses to Bitcoin, which I think we need to discuss.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one is it has no leadership. There's no CEO to fall on one side of a war or another.
Yeah.
It is really anonymous in terms of that kind of structure.
Yeah, which doesn't actually mean that there's any kind of politics involved within that. And I guess having no headquarters, no CEO, it kind of, it removes that element, doesn't it? Which a lot of the big corporations don't really have that kind of, they would get involved in some kind of politics, one side of the fence or the other.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you've also got the miners. So the mining locations, they're everywhere, all over the world. Yeah. So it's not like one half. Let's say there was a war of some kind. If some got shut down, it doesn't really matter because the others are still open. Yeah,
because what you find quite often with Bitcoin miners is they move around geographically as to where the best value for electricity is. And actually, that is completely, I guess it gives this creation of this product no real central point where it's sitting.
And it is decentralized, so it's going to be harder for somebody to take control and try and switch it off en masse.
Yeah, like you could.
There's no big red button. Yeah. There's no single big red button to go bosh, turn it off. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. It is a completely different way of thinking about money compared to the centralized banks, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I suppose the other thing as well is that's going on the plus side of Bitcoin in this kind of situation is that some countries you can already use Bitcoin to buy things.
Yeah.
El Salvador is an example of that.
Yeah, and there've been areas and countries around the world where instability has allowed people to start using crypto. So it's proving at the moment that even when countries are unstable, crypto is stepping in.
Yeah.
But whether we're able to scale that up, that's going to be quite difficult to think about, because Bitcoin and all digital currencies rely on the internet. What happens if we get to a point where actually we don't have any internet?
Well, this is the flip side of the argument. And I think most people into crypto would already be sold on the positives of Bitcoin during a disaster, but there is the other flip side, and these flip sides actually they're quite deep, aren't they? Because what happens if the internet goes down? Yeah. That's the first one.
Yeah.
What happens if there's no electricity?
Absolutely, because money is power, isn't it? And power is money, and they're so linked. We talk about electricity because we need electricity to continue mining Bitcoin, but we just need electricity to be able to enable transactions to function. Because how do you move your Bitcoin or pay for something through your phone if you can't charge your phone? It's deeply connected.
I mean, it's just everything, isn't it? I mean, it's not. Listen, in the scenario we're talking about, where there's no internet and no electricity, I should imagine transferring your Bitcoin is last thing on your mind right at that particular moment. However,
you still have to pay for things though.
Yeah, this is the point, isn't it? Because if you've got a situation where fiat currencies have collapsed in your country, then I mean, we'll get more onto that later on, but it could be a disaster.
Yeah.
Now there will be ways around it, and I can't imagine there being no electricity anywhere. But could electricity be rationed? Absolutely.
Oh, 100%. Well, we've seen it in the Ukraine at the moment where there's been power outages and they have times that the power has been shut down. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely, I think, when we have, I mean, even if you took back to our country in the 80s when we had the miners' strikes and
they were having so many days a week with no electricity, weren't they? Was it like
because they had
like a 4-day working week because there was no electricity, something like that.
Exactly. So we've seen this happen.
That was the 70s, right? In the 70s in the UK, I think they went down to a 4-day working week because of no electricity.
Yeah. But I guess it's not just power. It's not just internet. We're going to be looking at whether or not the governments start putting restrictions on things, because if the governments start restricting exchanges, for instance, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know what a World War III looks like. You don't know who's on what side.
Yeah.
And you just don't know who's funding what by using crypto, and you just don't know what side of the fence that falls down. And I mean, this is a fictional situation we're talking about here. But let's say there was certain groups being funded and they thought, okay, that's how they're surviving, that's how they're arming themselves with crypto. Bosh, let's turn off certain elements of exchanges and routes, and it could very easily happen.
We saw it in Venezuela with the US government getting Tether to start restricting people.
Yep.
So that is already in the pipeline of things that have been happening.
So many people don't know about that, and it always shocks me. So for those people that are watching this now and don't realise, if you hold a USDT or a Tether token, you can have your Tether blocked from you doing anything with it. So you can't transfer it, you can't spend it, you can't do anything. It's programmable.
Yeah.
It's something that I think that most people don't realise. So they use those powers, don't they, for like terrorism and stuff.
Yeah.
It's only a short step to start turning it off on everybody on the other side of a war.
Yeah.
It's be very, if they can do it for one, they can do it for the other.
Well, this is the thing about stablecoins, about CBDCs. It's all programmable money, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you start going down the is it programmable for certain things that you buy?
Yep.
Is it geo located in terms of being able to spend it? Is that money more taxable if you buy certain things? And there's a lot of kind of conditions that come with that, and I guess a lot of trust from the people that are creating these digital this digital currency, because as the end user, you are not in control of the parameters they're going to put on that. So that is something to consider, because especially as we're going down this route of particularly CBDCs, Europe has got their pilot 2026, 2027 for the digital euro. Other countries have already got CBDCs in place, like I think they've got one in China at the moment. So yeah, I think we're a much shorter step away from that coming in than people actually probably realise. Yeah,
definitely. And do you know what? There's another problem actually potentially with crypto in a war situation. Would be the value of it.
Well, yeah.
What happens if people start panic selling?
Yeah.
Which in wars, people are going to start panicking about everything.
Yeah.
There's no reason to think they wouldn't panic about their cryptocurrencies as well. Yeah. Everything's going to be up in the air. Well, if there's panic selling happens, it could drive the price down.
Yeah.
So we could be talking about a devaluation of your wealth.
Yeah.
Just like you could be devalued with your wealth caught in fiat, so like we saw in Iran.
Yes.
So one day I don't know what money they have in Iran, so forgive me, I don't know. The Iranian dollar or whatever it's called, I don't know what it's called. One day was worth X, next day it's worth Z.
Yeah. exactly
the same thing can happen there with your cryptocurrency. We
saw it in one of the South American countries as well. Was it
Argentina?
Yeah, and they had a real problem with the value of their currency. Mm-hmm. So that can happen so quickly, and if it can happen with fiat, it can certainly happen with crypto, especially if that price is driven down because people are worried and then they just want to take their cash out.
Do you know what they did do in Iran, though, which was interesting? I think we've touched on it before. I definitely have on social media. So there was a huge increase in activity with wallets from Iran in crypto.
Yes.
As this conflict started to snowball, and when they started having economic problems, people were shifting money out of their fiat currency in Iran and putting it into cryptocurrency. So we do know that during times of stress now, whether it's economic or war, people start leaning further into cryptocurrency because it's safer, because the banks can close.
Yes,
the blockchain doesn't.
Yeah, the blockchain doesn't close. I think people want flexibility, don't they? In those situations, to have all of your assets in one particular asset, it doesn't give you any flexibility at all. And I think that when people are particularly driven by fear, people are starting to change, particularly when you have fear around your own personal wealth, because we know in a crisis situation, people that have got access to more funds are more likely to have more resources. So you can understand why people want to move their money into something that can be more easily accessible. It's just whether or not those other denominators, like the internet, like the electricity, are going to have such a massive effect on people being able to use it.
I suppose what we really need to look at here is Bitcoin decentralized enough to survive a global crisis? That's really what we're looking at here. Or is it more fragile than what people are thinking?
Well, yeah, because, I mean, you see people online all the time, don't you? And they will catastrophize things, and we've seen it over the last few months. Obviously we had the big dump in October, and then really prices have just kind of trickled down. Yes, sometimes they've gone up a little bit, but on the whole it's come down a lot. But then you have people scaremongering Bitcoin's going to zero, Bitcoin's going to be at 40 grand, and I think it all feeds into that narrative, doesn't it, of people just being really worried, and then
well, with them being worried, even if Bitcoin did survive a global crisis like a World War III, would people trust it?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because do people trust banks at the moment? I'm not sure that they really do that much. I mean, if you were going to go and talk to your grandparents, they're kind of probably the generation that did trust the banks. Maybe your great nan, she didn't want to keep
trust
her
the banks.
money
She kept
in
everything
the bank
behind the wardrobe.
I know, yeah, bless her.
Tens and tens of thousands of pounds behind her wardrobe.
Yeah.
That's old school mentality though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's an old school mentality. But I think we are having a mentality, the modern version of that is, I don't trust the banks, I'm going to keep it in crypto.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like,
we're going in circles, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%.
We are.
But like, the point I'm making is that even if it survives and it exists and crypto survives during a war, and it's will people trust it, or will there be other things that will take a priority? And I'm being genuine when I say this, right? Gold.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah.
Land.
Yeah.
Or water. I mean, these things all of a sudden might feel safer than something that you can't touch, feel, eat, drink.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, because I mean, we often talk about gold, and then if you looked at the amount of people that actually physically own gold compared to the amount of people that own gold contracts, you kind of want the physical products, and I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, most people, when you talk to them, do you own any gold? Yeah, I do. When you talk to them about how much it is, it's very little. They ain't surviving off that.
Yeah.
It ain't happening. It ain't happening, right? Most people that say they own a considerable amount of gold, it's digital gold.
Yeah.
They're owning a share of the gold.
Yeah.
But those people that have actually got gold in a safe enough to be able to survive for many years, I bet it's not that many.
No. And you don't know how we live in a world where if you had a gold bar, for instance, do people have the ability to start melting that down and giving it to people?
You would, yeah.
You would. That would have to evolve. Because we are talking about crisis situation. But I think we have moved on slightly. However, people that have got physical assets, and there's kind of a bit of a culture in the UK of going back to cash is king, because if everything collapses and the internet turns off and people can't access their money even through their traditional banking routes, then having cash is going to be really important.
Well, that's the point. We've just talked about Bitcoin being in trouble if there's no internet and no electricity. Well, try using your Apple Pay. Well, yeah. Try using your chip and pin.
Yeah,
it ain't working. No. So they're actually in the same problem.
Yeah.
It's the same problem because, like, how many people hold considerable amounts of cash anymore? I should imagine the only real people that hold considerable amounts of cash in the UK, really, if we're honest, is really, really old people, because they've always done it. And then people that own things like shops, market traders, that end, and then criminals.
Yeah.
The majority of the country probably have only got a couple of hundred quid of cash, if that.
And the other thing to bear in mind is that the banks need the computerised systems to be able to function even if you went into the bank to withdraw your cash. So if that wasn't working, then you wouldn't have access. And also the banks don't hold a lot of cash anymore. So if everybody physically wanted the cash out of the banks that they have in their accounts, the banks, there isn't enough money in the UK to be able to service that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, also, I just had a bit of a random thought. I know it's not something we've spoke about before, but do you know if there was actual like real civil problems, like you're talking about like whole towns getting raided and all that kind of stuff? Well, they will come, won't they? And they will look for your money, your gold, your jewelry. Well, they can't look for your Bitcoin.
No, because
so it would actually be slightly safer.
Yes,
so
and there is always
could you hide your crypto keys away from a raiding army?
Yeah,
absolutely, you could.
Yeah.
Could you hide a boot full of gold in the back of a car? No, you can't. So I suppose we're talking about these doomsday scenarios. Doomsday's the wrong word, is it? No, this is the right word, isn't it? Yeah, these doomsday scenarios. Actually, when it comes to keeping your things to yourself, crypto's a lot easier to hide.
I think people run into crypto when they distrust governments and banks. I think we are starting to see that, although we're not in this crisis situation. I think there is a real distrust in the governments at the moment. I think there's a real distrust in the central banks. And I think people are worried about things getting more expensive. Look at inflation. Look at people's worry about their jobs and about the cost of living. I mean, this cost of living crisis and this phrase that we've termed over the last few years, that's really prevalent. And for a lot of people in the UK, it's really important.
But that level of inflation is nothing. I remember watching a YouTube video, #Brady. He went to Argentina.
Yeah.
And typical Brady does no research on the place he's going. He just went, "Oh, pretty, good flight, let's go." Bosh, lands in there. And there's people like trying to sell money on the street. He's like, "What is going on?
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on." He managed to find somebody to speak English in a shop. He's like, "What is going on?" He's like, "Because our economy is absolutely screwed. So people are trying to get dollars and all the rest of it, right?" And then she was in a shop. She said, let me show you. And she was showing him the things. She was showing toilet rolls. She was like, 2 months ago, these toilet rolls were, I can't remember the exact number. Let's say it was 20 times cheaper 2 months ago than what it is today. And he's like, "What? I don't understand." She's like, "Because the inflation's gone crazy."
Yeah.
So people are buying everything in bulk now because we know next month we might not be able to afford it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden the shops had hardly anything on the shelves because people were going, "Oh my God, things are going inflation so fast, we need to hoard."
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's proper inflation.
Yeah.
That's where you're worried you won't be able to buy something next month because things are going up so quickly.
Yeah.
We just have it in a situation in the UK, we're going, "Oh my God, this feels so..." When I go to the pub, "Oh my God, I've just bought 4 drinks. I could have bought 8 drinks for that a couple of years ago."
Yeah.
I mean, this is like almost like luxury compared to what you're talking about in Argentina.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They were
definitely.
literally worried about next month, my entire month's wages might not buy my shopping.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's a different gravy over there when you get inflation that goes out. And we've never really, not that I know of, I don't think we've ever, in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like that in the UK.
No, but with real crisis, with real war, I mean, look at things like just what's going on at the moment. Obviously, we've got the crisis going on in the Middle East, and it is affecting the oil trade throughout the world. That has a knock-on effect in multiple other industry sectors, not just producing petrol, for instance. And things are probably going to become more of a challenge to start producing, which is going to increase prices throughout the world. I don't know to what level that's going to get to, because obviously we don't know when that's over. But I think we would be naive to think that things aren't going to get more expensive. If you had your money in crypto rather than the bank, would you feel a bit safer?
Well, you are until they start freezing your bank accounts.
Yeah.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
Because we know how quickly they debank people during peace times.
Yeah.
They do it at the moment over political views. They do it over
crypto usage.
Crypto, it happens, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So we know that they have the power to debank
Yeah.
people at a click of a finger,
Yeah.
freeze your bank accounts. It can
Yeah.
happen in seconds, right? So during the wartime, what happened if the government needed a power grab? Would they do that? I mean, I think if that happens, doesn't it, during war times, where they stop people taking money out of the banks,
Yeah.
and they literally say you have no access to your money anymore.
Yeah.
That happened in Iran, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that people underestimate the government's priorities in wartime.
Mm-hmm.
So for the government, it's all going to be about functioning of the country, about making sure the country is protected.
Well, if you thought you were going to get invaded, top priority would be whatever is going to stop it getting invaded.
Exactly, which for you as an individual is not going to probably align with you and your family and your values and your priorities. So I think that's kind of a shift in the mindset, but it's not going to feel nice for the average person that's trying to then live through their life during that kind of crisis.
Yeah, totally. I mean, when it also comes to, can they freeze your crypto? They can do on certain types. So if you've got it on exchanges, could they freeze it? Absolutely, they could.
Yeah.
They're not even in doubt.
Yeah.
They could literally stop you logging in tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is why self-custody is so important to me.
100%.
I mean, I've never made a video saying, if there's a war, you need to don't leave your crypto on the exchanges, right? But one day I might have to make that video.
Yeah, exactly.
One day I literally might need to make that video
Yeah.
and be saying, are you from country XYZ?
Yeah.
Get your crypto off those exchanges and onto a cold storage wallet immediately.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you should ever keep your long-term holdings on an exchange anyway.
But people do because it's easy.
No, I get it. And I hope that in us banging the same drum
Mm-hmm.
constantly, it will get people to move it across. Because the reality is that no exchanges are safe because there's risks of hackers, there's risks of exchanges freezing. So it might not be that your crypto's lost, it might just be that the exchange is frozen and at the time you want to access it, you can't. Or it could be that it completely collapses, and we've seen that with exchanges in the past.
FTX.
So yeah, exactly. So I think encouraging people to move their long-term holdings. Yes, if you've got some money and you're going to do some trading, and it's
that's
short,
different. If you're
different,
using it,
isn't
leave it there.
exactly.
I get that.
Exactly. So we talked earlier about the government's prioritising the country in these kind of times, and I think we do have to understand that the government's priority is going to be the country. They are going to implement things like emergency powers, aren't they? So there will be times where
Of everything, not just crypto, everything.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
So electricity and
Land, factories,
and food.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened in World War II, where food was rationed.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and then you've got the idea that this potential next world war that we could have is going to not just be the war; it's also going to be. It's going to have the technology in it as well that we didn't have the last time. So things like our government's going to increase surveillance on normal day-to-day people.
Oh, definitely.
Because that's
especially in a
something
country
we've not seen before.
Especially in the modern world where there's so much migration, and every country in the West definitely is completely mixed with people from all over the world.
Yeah.
So if there was a world war,
Yeah.
it'd be very difficult to work out who's from which side. So I should
Yeah.
imagine surveillance would be huge.
Massive.
Huge.
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because the country's going to be short on resources, and then there's going to be a huge amount of resources that are used for that.
Yeah.
Which, feels crazy. I mean, we've got the other idea that would the government start tightening KYC within crypto?
I think so. And I think they would have the ability to be able to say, this group of people here lock all their crypto.
Yeah.
If it was on an exchange, they can't lock it if you're on a cold storage wallet. They
Yeah.
can't. They can't. They haven't got your keys. They can't do
Yeah.
it. Because on the blockchain, they can't do it.
Yeah.
But they can if they've got access to how you access it.
Yeah.
So if they've got access to, I'm not going to name an exchange, but exchange A,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden exchange A is friendly with your government, and they know that's your email, that's your login, that's your account, bosh, you're locked out immediately. In fact, it could be worse than that. They might just say, although we're going to seize it, hand it over,
Yeah.
and the exchange might be cool, because we're on your side of we're your side of the wall, no problem.
Well, because they
Have it all.
already do seize crypto from criminals,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
they? So,
Yeah.
if those laws are already in, it's very easy just to pivot that.
Yeah, so instead of being because you're a criminal,
Yeah.
it's because you're on the other side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
absolutely,
exactly.
you could.
And also, I mean, it's not just the KYC, is it? They could put restrictions in with the exchanges as well.
The other thing as well is in a global world, if we just look at the locations of exchanges that we use, well, EU, America, Far East, it's already spread across the world already.
Yeah.
You just don't know which pockets and which sides would be in what war and where your money would be. Again, cold storage is the way forward.
Absolutely. And then you've got, this year has been a bit of a change for tax and the way that it's expected to be reported. But if things are really looking difficult for the government, then cracking down on things like taxes to increase revenue for the countries, that's probably going to be really
definitely going to happen. Definitely. And you know what, we're harping back on a little bit here, but going backwards, if you remember the episode we did a few months back talking about the XRP domino theory, in the event of the situation and there being an absolute disaster, they might be looking for a solution to fast track getting things up going again, especially if some fiat currencies around the world collapse. And you might find that some cryptocurrencies would fit the narrative very, very well and be used. Now, I'm not here to bang the XRP drum, but that kind of an example, it doesn't have to be XRP, I'm just using that as an example. It could be any of them, couldn't it? It could be Hedera, it could be anything, right? But one of them might be a winner in the case of a war.
Or the governments are going to introduce these CBDCs and present them, this is the safe thing that you can use during this time. And it might all then just...
But some people might look out. Some people might have a pocket of particular cryptocurrency, and all of a sudden during this drama one of them gets used exponentially they weren't expecting to, because it works. You're off and running again.
Exactly. I mean, for me, this is a really interesting conversation because I feel like there's so many people at the moment that are slightly worried about what the future looks like over the next kind of 5 to 10 years. There's so much geopolitical tensions throughout the world, and there's also a lot of people that are using crypto, but there is a much bigger proportion of people in the world that don't use crypto, that don't have any idea about crypto. So I think that actually the small proportion of people that are using crypto could potentially have a slight edge if everything went wrong, because they've just got a little bit more knowledge and potentially a safer option if everything goes wrong.
Well, they can hide their wealth faster in the event of a drama. They simply can. Because if you've got all your money in gold, how are you going to move it? If you've got to be evacuated out of your country, how are you moving it? If your money's in art, how are you moving it all? This is look back to World War II when they were being taken en masse out of countries trying to escape. Well, how are you going to move everything if your money's in physical things? If your money's in fiat money and the economy is collapsing, well, you're getting devalued by the second anyway. I think crypto could be a safer bet. But I think actually potentially for me, having a little bit of all sorts is probably a good idea. Some gold, some fiat, some crypto, some art, whatever it will be. To kind of hedge your bets a little bit.
Definitely. And listen, we're talking now about a potential disaster and a potential World War III. But that doesn't really change, I think, what we would suggest in any kind of investment portfolio under any circumstances, because we always talk about having something that's more balanced and something that's more diverse. And I think that if we're in crisis, just having another option, and I think this is what it gives us being in crypto. If you've got a decentralized wallet, if you have got some money in stable coins and some money in tokens, and you've got a diversification and you can move your money quite quickly and your assets quite quickly, or you've got things in tokenized assets like NFTs or whatever it is, you've just got another element of being able to stay ahead of the game a little bit faster.
Let's not forget, crypto was designed to be peer-to-peer at the beginning. Right? I can go up to somebody else, or they could come up to me, and within a few seconds, we have sent each other a transaction. So again, in the event of an evacuation situation, and you needed to be able to pay to get on a boat or on a bus or whatever it would be, you could do peer-to-peer with somebody that was willing to accept. And in the event of a complete disaster, I think it could be another option. And I think in a future war situation, I think we will see that happen.
Completely. I completely agree. Matt, it's been awesome. We don't ever want to talk about doomsday scenarios. However, I think it's really interesting to explore the idea that crypto's not just something that you just buy in and hold in. Where's the utility in this? And actually, in these kind of situations, it could give people some real alternative options.
I enjoyed exploring this with you. Obviously, it's quite a dark subject. However, I think it's a subject that is worth exploring. I'm glad we've done it.
Yeah.
It's made me think about my own personal finances and wealth and what sits where. And actually, I think it was just an interesting conversation. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, as always, new episodes of the podcast drop in on Spotify and on YouTube every Friday, 7 p.m. If you're not already subscribed, give us a follow. Don't forget, you can access the full episodes right on our TikTok account. If you give us a follow, it's UK Crypto Podcast.